Deep in neutral space, far from any empire's border, something floated. The region was called the Empty Expanse. 3 rival alien empires shared its edges. The Vorthan to the north, the Xylos to the south, the Thasians to the east. None of them owned the Empty Expanse. It was too big, too cold, too empty. Or so they thought. Then one day, it appeared. No one saw it arrive. No one felt a shockwave. No one detected a jump signature. It was simply there. One morning, a Vorthan scout ship was passing through the expanse, and the pilot looked out her window and stopped breathing. A fortress floated in the dark. It was massive. Bigger than any ship the empires had ever built. Bigger than a small moon. The metal was dark, almost black, but soft lights glowed from thousands of small windows. The shape was strange. Not round like a planet. Not long like a ship. It looked like a tangled knot of metal and stone, as if someone had grabbed a mountain and twisted it into a ball. The pilot tried to report back. She opened a channel. Nothing. She tried again. Nothing. Her systems worked. Her power was fine. But every signal she sent disappeared into silence. Then her engines stopped. Then her lights went dark. Then she was gone. The Vorthan Empire sent a second scout. Then a third. Then a small fleet of 5 ships. Each one approached the fortress. Each one sent a final signal that never arrived. Each one vanished without a trace. The Vorthan admiral gave a new order. Stay away from the floating fortress. Do not go near it. Do not look at it for too long. Do not try to communicate with it. But the Xylos Empire had heard the rumors. They sent their own scouts. The same thing happened. Ships vanished. Signals died. Crews disappeared. The Xylos gave the same order. Stay away. The Thasians were smarter. They watched from far away. They used long-range cameras and silent drones. They did not send ships close. They simply observed. And what they saw made no sense. The fortress did not move. It did not change shape. It did not attack. It simply floated there, silent and still, like a sleeping beast. The soft lights never flickered. The dark metal never warmed. It was cold and quiet and terrifying. Soon, every alien fleet in the sector received the same order. Stay away from the floating fortress. No one knew why. No one knew what was inside. No one knew who built it. But everyone obeyed. The mystery grew. Rumors spread through the empires like fire. Some said the fortress was haunted by the ghosts of old wars. Some said it was a trap built by a forgotten enemy. Some said it was a god sleeping in the dark. A few whispered that it was alive. But the truth was much stranger. And much more terrifying. A young Xylos scientist named Kale did not believe in ghosts or gods. He believed in data. He spent 6 months studying every piece of information about the fortress. He watched the videos. He read the reports. He analyzed the energy readings from the long-range drones. And he found one small detail that everyone else had missed. The fortress was not completely silent. Once every 30 days, at the exact same time, a single sound came from inside. It was not an engine. Not a weapon. Not a machine. It was a heartbeat. Slow and deep. So deep that most senses could not hear it. But Kale's senses could. A heartbeat. Something was alive inside the fortress. Something very big. Or something very small that dreamed very loud. Kale wanted to share his discovery. He wrote a report. He sent it to his leaders. They read it in silence. Then they gave him a new order. Delete this report. Forget what you found. And never speak of the heartbeat again. Kale obeyed. But he could not forget. Every night, when he closed his eyes, he heard it. Thump, thump, thump. Slow and deep. Waiting. The fortress floated on in the dark. The empires stayed away. The rumors continued. But no one went close. No one looked too long. No one asked too many questions. Because somewhere deep inside that tangled knot of metal and stone, something was alive. Something had built that fortress. Something had put that heartbeat there. And something was waiting. No one knew for what. And no one wanted to find out. 3 months passed. The empires had almost forgotten about the missing scouts. They had new problems. New enemies. New wars. The floating fortress became an old story, something that mothers told their children to make them behave. Stay away from the dark place, they said, or the fortress will eat you. Then the ships started coming back. The first one appeared near a Vorthan trade station. A small scout ship, damaged but still moving. Its lights flickered. Its hull had scratches but no holes. The station master watched it drift closer and felt his blood run cold. He recognized the ship's number. It was the first scout that had vanished 3 months ago. The ship docked without asking for permission. The doors opened. The crew walked out. There were 4 of them. 3 males and 1 female. They looked healthy. Their gray skin had color. Their eyes were clear. They walked normally. They breathed normally. They even smiled. But something was wrong. The station master had known these crew members before they left. He had shared meals with them. He had watched them laugh and argue and complain. They were normal people. Afraid of things. Angry about small problems. Tired after long shifts. Now they were different. They did not look afraid of anything. They stood quietly, waiting for orders. When someone spoke to them, they answered in soft, calm voices. They did not ask questions. They did not complain. They did not even blink when a loud alarm suddenly went off nearby. The noise was terrible, loud and sharp, meant to warn of an incoming storm. But the returned crew members just stood there, smiling, calm, waiting. The station master felt a cold shiver run down his spine. Doctors came. Scientists came. They examined the crew for 3 days. Every test came back normal. Their brains worked. Their hearts beat. Their blood was clean. They remembered their names. They remembered their families. They remembered how to fly ships and how to eat food and how to speak their language. But they could not remember the fortress. Every doctor asked the same question. What happened inside the fortress? Every returned crew member gave the same answer. I do not remember. The doctors tried harder. They used drugs to open the mind. They used machines to look at memories. They used questions from every angle. Nothing worked. The memories of the fortress were simply gone. Not hidden. Not blocked. Gone. Like they had never existed. But something else was different. Something the scientists could not measure. The returned crew members were not afraid anymore. Not of anything. A doctor showed one of them a picture of a deadly predator. The crew member smiled. Another doctor played a recording of a battle, full of screams and explosions. The crew member smiled. A third doctor took a needle and pricked the crew member's skin. The crew member smiled and said, "That does not hurt." But it should have hurt. The skin was red. The nerve endings were working. The crew member simply did not care. The scientists were confused. They had never seen anything like this. The crew members were healthy. Their brains worked. Their bodies worked. But something inside them had been changed. Adjusted. Like a machine that had been tuned to a new setting. One of the returned pilots was a young Vorthan female named Jorah. She had been brave before. She had been loud and funny and a little bit wild. Now she was quiet. She sat in her room and looked out the window at the stars. She did not read. She did not talk. She just sat and smiled. A scientist sat down next to her. He asked the same question again. "What do you think about the fortress?" Jorah turned her head slowly. Her smile did not change. Her voice was soft and sweet, like a mother talking to a child. "It is just keeping us safe," she said. The scientist felt his skin turn cold. "Keeping you safe from what?" Jorah did not answer. She turned back to the window and kept smiling. The scientist waited. She did not speak again. He stood up and walked away. His hands were shaking. He did not know what the fortress was. He did not know what had happened to Jorah and the others. But he knew one thing for certain. The fortress was not empty. Something lived inside it. Something that could reach into minds and remove memories. Something that could take away fear. Something that could make a person smile while a needle went into their skin. And that something had just sent back 23 ships. 23 crews. 23 smiling, empty, unafraid messengers. The scientist looked out the window at the dark sky. Somewhere out there, the fortress floated in silence. Waiting. Watching. He did not know what it wanted. But he was very afraid to find out. The Galactic Council had watched from far away for too long. They had seen the scouts vanish. They had seen the crews return, empty and smiling. They had heard the whispers and the rumors and the fears. Now they wanted answers. The Council sent their best team. 5 small ships. 20 scientists. 10 soldiers. All volunteers. None of them expected to come back. But they went anyway, because someone had to know the truth. The team was led by a Xylos scientist named Dr. Ellen. She was old and smart and had seen many strange things in her long life. She was not easy to frighten. But as her ship approached the fortress, she felt something she had never felt before. A warmth. A soft, gentle warmth that spread through her body like a kind hand. It made no sense. Space was cold. The fortress was dark metal. There was no sun nearby. but the warmth was real. And it felt safe. Too safe. Dr. Ellen looked at her crew. They were all feeling it too. Their faces had softened. Their shoulders had relaxed. Some of them were even smiling. The same empty, calm smile that the returned scouts had worn. "We should turn back," Dr. Ellen said. Her voice was quiet, but her body did not listen. Her hands kept working. Her ship kept moving forward. The warmth grew stronger. The fortress grew bigger in the window. The dark metal now looked soft, almost welcoming. The soft lights glowed like friendly eyes. The ship entered an opening in the metal, a dark tunnel that led deep inside. No one gave the order to enter. The ship simply went. And no one stopped it. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber. It was the biggest room Dr. Ellen had ever seen. Bigger than a city. Bigger than a mountain. The walls were smooth and dark. The ceiling was lost in shadow. And the light came from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. A soft, golden light that made everything look peaceful. The chamber was empty. No machines. No controls. No furniture. No doors. Just empty space and soft light. And in the center of the chamber, floating in silence, was a child. A small human girl. She looked no older than 10 years. Her hair was dark and long, floating around her head like smoke. Her skin was pale. Her eyes were closed. Her hands were folded on her chest. She wore a simple white dress. She was not asleep. She was not awake. She was somewhere in between. A quiet place between dreaming and waking. Dr. Ellen stared at the child. Her mind raced. This was not a weapon. This was not a trap. This was a cage. A beautiful, silent cage built to hold one small human girl. But why? What could a child do that required a fortress this big? The soldiers raised their weapons. Dr. Ellen pushed their hands down. "No," she whispered. "Do not wake her." Then the child spoke. Her lips did not move. Her eyes did not open. But her voice filled every mind in the room. It was soft and sweet, like a song heard from far away. "I dreamed of war," the girl said. "So they built me a quiet place. So I would not dream again." Dr. Ellen felt tears come to her eyes. She did not know why. The voice was sad and lonely and very, very old. This child had been here for a long time. Centuries, maybe. Alone in the dark, floating in a dream, so that her dreams would not hurt anyone. "What do you dream of now?" Dr. Ellen asked. The child was silent for a moment. Then the voice came again, softer this time. "Safe things. Green fields. Blue skies. Birds singing. I dream of quiet. So the galaxy can be quiet too." Dr. Ellen understood. The returned scouts had not been harmed. They had been touched by the child's dream. Their fear had been removed. Their anger had been quieted. They had been made safe. Just like the girl wanted. The fortress was not a weapon. It was not a trap. It was a gift. A terrible, terrifying gift. A human child who could reshape reality with her dreams, locked away in a floating prison so that the rest of the galaxy could live in peace. Dr. Ellen looked at the small, floating girl. She wanted to cry. She wanted to scream. She wanted to take the child home and give her a real bed and real food and real friends. But she knew she could not. The child was not a prisoner. She was a protector. A sleeping guardian who dreamed of safety so that others would not have to dream of war. The team left the fortress. They flew back to their worlds. They told the council everything. And the council, for the first time in history, made a new law. Leave the fortress alone. Let the child sleep. And pray she never dreams of anger again. The scientists ran. They did not walk. They did not stop. They ran from the fortress as fast as their ships could carry them. Dr. Ellen did not look back. She did not want to see the dark metal or the soft lights ever again. She wanted to forget the floating child and her sad, quiet voice. But she knew she never would. When they reached council space, Dr. Ellen gave her report. She stood in front of the council leaders, all 12 of them, and told them everything. The warmth. The safety. The empty chamber. The child. The whisper. When she finished, the room was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. The leaders looked at each other. Their faces were pale. Their hands were cold. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Galactic Council felt true terror. Not because of a weapon. Not because of an enemy. Because of a small, sleeping girl. The council ordered a deep search of the oldest records. Not the public records. The secret ones. The files that had been hidden for centuries, locked away in dark data cores that no one was supposed to open. The files that contained the real history of the galaxy. It took 3 weeks. But they found it. A war. A terrible war from 2,000 years ago. The war did not involve the council races. It involved only humans. The humans had been young then, new to the stars, full of hope and fire and foolish dreams. They had fought many small wars among themselves. They had built many strange weapons. But one weapon was different. One weapon was not made of metal or fire or explosives. It was made of flesh and blood and a mind so powerful that it could change reality. The humans had created a child. A psychic child. A girl who could dream things into existence. They had hoped she would be the end of all wars. They thought she could dream of peace and make it real. But they were wrong. The child's dreams were not easy to control. When she was happy, she dreamed of flowers and sunshine. That was fine. But when she was sad, she dreamed of storms. When she was angry, she dreamed of fire. When she was afraid, she dreamed of monsters. And the monsters became real. The records showed everything. A planet destroyed because the child had a nightmare. A city burned because the child was frightened by a loud noise. Millions dead because the child had been angry at her mother. The humans tried to help her. They gave her teachers. They gave her medicine. They gave her love. But nothing worked. The child's power grew faster than her mind could handle. She was only 10 years old, but her dreams could tear apart stars. The humans faced a terrible choice. They could kill the child. That would be the safest thing for the galaxy. But she was their daughter, their own flesh and blood. They could not murder a child, no matter how dangerous she was. So they built the fortress. They found a special metal, rare and strange, that could block psychic energy. They built a floating prison, big and strong, and lined every wall with that metal. They put the child inside, in a deep sleep, so she would not dream. And they hid the fortress in neutral space, far from any world, hoping no one would ever find her. For 2,000 years, the fortress floated in silence. The child slept. Her dreams stayed inside the metal walls. The galaxy was safe. The humans went back to their small blue planet and pretended nothing had happened. They told no one about the child. They erased every record. They hoped the universe would forget. But the universe did not forget. The scouts had found the fortress. The crews had entered the chamber. The child's dreams had leaked out, just a little, touching the minds of the returned scouts, taking their fear, making them calm. And now the council knew the truth. The fortress was not a weapon. It was a prison. The child was not a monster. She was a victim. A little girl locked away in the dark because her own mind could destroy worlds. Dr. Ellen read the old records and cried. She cried for the humans who had lost their daughter. She cried for the child who had lost her life. She cried for the planets that had burned because of a nightmare. But she also felt fear. Deep, cold fear. Because the records said something else. Something terrible. The metal walls of the fortress were not perfect. Over time, they weakened. The child's dreams were starting to leak out more and more. The returned scouts were proof of that. And if the walls failed completely, if the child woke up angry or scared, her dreams would flood the galaxy. No one could stop her. No weapon could hurt her. No army could fight her. She was a child who could make nightmares real. The council leaders looked at each other. They did not know what to do. They could not kill her. They could not wake her. They could not move the fortress. They could only wait. And hope. And pray that the little girl kept dreaming of safe things. Outside the council chamber, the stars were quiet. But somewhere far away, in a dark fortress made of metal and silence, a small human girl floated in her dream. Her lips moved. Her fingers twitched. And for just a moment, she almost opened her eyes. The council called an emergency meeting. Every empire sent their leader. The Vorthan Emperor came. The Xylos High Priest came. The Thassain Sea Lord came. 12 leaders in total, each one powerful and proud. But when they sat down in the great hall, their faces were not proud. Their faces were pale and tired and afraid. Dr. Ellen stood before them. She told the whole story. The fortress. The child. The dreams. The old war. The metal walls that were slowly failing. When she finished, the room was so quiet that she could hear her own heart beating. The Vorthan Emperor spoke first. His voice was low. Can we destroy the fortress? Dr. Ellen shook her head. No. The child is inside. If we attack, she might wake up. If she wakes up angry, her nightmares will become real. We cannot risk it. The Xylos High Priest spoke next. Can we move the fortress? Push it into a star? No, Dr. Ellen said. The metal is too strong. And moving it might disturb her sleep. The same risk. She might wake up. The Thassain Lord leaned forward. His voice was soft. Then what can we do? Dr. Ellen looked at each leader. Nothing. We do nothing. We stay away. We leave her alone. We hope she keeps dreaming of safe things. That is the only choice. The leaders looked at each other. They did not like this answer. They wanted action. They wanted solutions. They wanted to fight. But there was nothing to fight. Only a sleeping child in a failing prison. They talked for many hours. Some argued. Some cried. Some sat in silence. But in the end, they all agreed on one thing. The fortress must be left alone. Forever. The council made a new law. They called it the first law of safe space. The law had 3 parts. First, no ship shall approach the floating fortress. Not close. Not far. Not at all. Every ship in the galaxy must stay beyond a safe distance. The distance was very, very far. Second, no signal shall be sent to the floating fortress. No message. No scan. No attempt to communicate. The child must not be disturbed. Third, no weapon shall be aimed at the floating fortress. No missiles. No lasers. No bombs. The fortress does not exist. That is what every captain must believe. The law spread through the galaxy like wind. Every alien fleet received the order. Every captain read it. Every soldier heard it. And no one asked questions. No one argued. No one complained. They simply turned their ships away from the region of space where the fortress floated. They changed their routes. They updated their maps. They never looked back. The fortress became a hole in the galaxy. A place that was not on any official chat. A secret that everyone knew but no one spoke about. The child slept on, alone in the dark, dreaming her quiet dreams. Inside the fortress, the small human girl floated in her dream. The soft light surrounded her. The dark metal held her. Her eyes did not open. Her hands did not move. But her lips moved. She whispered one word, so soft that no one could hear it except the walls. Safe. She dreamed of green fields and blue skies. She dreamed of birds singing and rivers flowing. She dreamed of a mother's hand holding hers. She dreamed of peace. And far away, on a small blue planet, an old human woman sat in a garden. Her hair was white. Her hands were wrinkled. Her eyes were tired but kind. She had been young once. She had been a scientist. She had been a mother. She had built the fortress long ago. She had designed the metal walls. She had put her own daughter inside. She had watched the child fall into a deep, dreamless sleep. Then she had walked away and never looked back. That was 2,000 years ago. The old woman should have died long ago. But she had taken medicine, strange and rare, that kept her alive. She had stayed alive for one reason. To watch. To wait. To make sure her daughter never woke up alone. Every day, the old woman sat in her garden and looked up at the stars. She did not know which star was the fortress. The galaxy was too big. But she looked anyway. She looked and hoped and prayed. Today, she felt something different. A small warmth in her chest. A feeling of peace. She did not know why. But she smiled. She had built the fortress to protect the galaxy from her daughter's dreams. But now she understood something else. The fortress also protected her daughter from the galaxy. From the wars and the noise and the fear. From the pain of being different. The old woman looked up at the stars one more time. Then she closed her eyes and whispered 2 words. Sleep well. The stars shone down on her garden. Somewhere far away, in a dark fortress made of metal and silence, a small human girl smiled in her sleep. She did not wake up. She did not dream of war. She dreamed of her mother's garden.